Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Achua. It's going to be one of my similar but better videos where I compare two or more fragrances and let you know which of them in my opinion is a better alternative. I'm going to start off with one that is like very new on the market. It's one of the latest addition when it comes to the Reham line from Paris Corner. They have the Vanilla Mood, known to be inspired by Tom Ford's Vanilla Sex with a twist. That is what a lot of the houses or a lot of the distributors who are selling it are saying, with a twist. Every one of them that they are doing under the Ministry of Oud line, the Reham line, it's with a twist. So let's see if it has any twist of its own, and this is going to be Vanilla Mood. So I compared this one to Serre by Lattafa and also Sensual Vanilla from Maison Alhambra. What I can say is they smell very identical. I can barely tell differences between this one, especially with Serre by Lattafa. It's very comparable to this, whereas when it comes to Sensual Vanilla, I find it a lot more, a lot more luxurious. There's something much more to Sensual Vanilla by Maison Alhambra that I enjoy over Serre, and I also enjoyed that over Vanilla Mood. I was waiting for the twist. As soon as I sprayed this one, I was like, oh, okay, what is the twist that Paris Corner is adding to this? Because all those houses and distributors are saying, or it's being advertised as Vanilla Sex with a twist. I'm still waiting for the twist because I'm not getting any twist. I don't think they necessarily added anything of their own, because I still get that same almond, bitter almond. I still get that same vanilla, that same tonka. I don't really get anything that necessarily gives me a twist. I don't get anything like they added some heavy florals or some milk or something. It doesn't necessarily give me anything like a twist of its own. It just reminds me of Serre from Lattafa and Sensual Vanilla, but more like Serre, because Sensual Vanilla comes across as a lot more sweeter, a lot more, the almond in Sensual Vanilla to me is a lot more better. This is not bad fragrance, there's Vanilla Mood from Paris Corner. It is not. If you don't have any of them and you think it is a cheaper alternative, I would say go between this one and say go for the cheaper alternative. It's the difference. There is very negligible differences amongst these three fragrances. If you want the more better one, in my opinion, I would say it is a Sensual Vanilla. Between this Vanilla Mood and Serre from Lattafa, I'm not be able to pick a winner because I think they are equally the same. They are not as sweet as Sensual Vanilla. They are both bitter almond, the vanilla and then tonka bean. That is essentially what this one are, and a bit of woods. I think one of the most significant difference is that this one is not as woody as Serre from Lattafa. I would say I think it is not as woody as Serre from Lattafa, and I also don't get that touch of smoky nuance I get from Serre from Lattafa. Aside that, in the air they smell very identical, very negligible differences. So if you are wondering what's the twist that Paris Corner said they were adding to it, I'm still waiting for the twist. I'm still waiting for it. I'm not getting any twist. I think it's a very beautiful, wholesome, nutty, creamy vanilla and almond scent. Aside that, I don't think they really added anything that is like going to make me say it is with a twist. I don't think it comes with any twist. So that is going to be Vanilla Reham Vanilla Mood from Paris Corner. There are other two, the Rose Petal and an additional one, that I would love to try. But for now, that is what I've been able to try. And that is going to be my take and comparison. I'm also going to go with another Alhambra, a very beautiful looking bottle package. This is Mineral Gold from Maison Alhambra. It's one of the latest releases. I saw it from my friend Tells Perfume GH and I was like, you know what is it inspired by? But she had not opened the bottle yet, so I just told her, you know what, give it to me, I'll test it out and see how it is. However, let me just give you the full. It's just a very beautiful gold. I love the bottle. The lid gave me, or the bottle itself gives me ex nihilo vibes. However, it doesn't give me, the fragrance itself is a fragrance I've owned two other bottles in the past. And for that matter, although this is a very beautiful fragrance, I'm not going to keep it. I already have someone waiting to buy it off me. So this is going to be Mineral Gold from Alhambra. And this is going to be the interpretation of Guymed. No, Guymed, that mineral. I think I should have even known from the name. I don't even know why. I should have known from the name mineral. The name says mineral. I probably should have guessed, because it gives me the same exact Guymed, mineral, ozonic, suede, leather, woods, floral. It's just the same thing. But the bottle is so pretty. I love this. If I didn't have masa, I would have probably kept this, but I have masa, which I kept over Celestial from Paris Corner. I've sold my bottle of Celestial, and it's the same person who bought my Celestial bottle off from me, who is also requesting that he gets this one, because I told him, oh, you know what, I bought something blindly. I'm not sure I want to keep it, and he said he wants to have it. So although I have it here, it's not going to stay, unfortunately. It is very comparable to Celestial, to Massa, the same Guymed DNA. I think it is a beautiful blend, because as soon as I sprayed this one, it didn't give me anything screechy or offensive or annoying. I struggled with Massa from Latafa. The opening, it took me months for it to settle down and for me to appreciate Massa. However, as soon as I sprayed this one, there was nothing screechy about it. It's a very smooth, seamless, beautiful Guymed interpretation. Maybe it is coming a bit too late, because I know there are several other versions of Guymed on the market, and I think I'll just stick with my Massa for now, because I barely touch that fragrance. I feel it's much more masculine in my opinion, although unisex. I feel it is much more masculine. This is the back of the bottle. Yeah, a very pretty one. I love the gold details here. But I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to keep it. I already have a home for it, but it's a very comparable, identical smell to Celestial from Paris Corner, and then Massa from Latava, and then the several other dupes of Guymed on the market. But this is a very beautiful one. You can get it just because of the bottle, because I think of all of them, this is the best bottles, ever when it comes to that Guymed, dupes. Let me also go with these two fragrances. I think Shaghaf Oud, the OG, which I had and decluttered, but thanks to my friend, she sent me some sample of the original Shaghaf Oud, as well as the Shaghaf Oud Elixir, the Elixir version. I think Swiss Arabia was going for what they did between Casablanca and the Casablanca Estate, but I think, in my opinion, they feel that this particular one, the Elixir, when it comes to the OG and the Elixir, I think the Casablanca Estate was an improvement over the OG Casablanca. When I smelled these two fragrances, I guess feel like it's been watered down to the point that it's like a shadow of itself, the Elixir. The Elixir smells like a shadow of the original, which is your rose, vanilla, I think saffron and wood. It's still beautiful. The Elixir is still beautiful, but I think it's like a shadow of the original one. You still get that same Shaghaf Oud, rose oud combo, vanilla, saffron, but I think the Elixir is being watered down to the extent that probably they wanted to please the crowd who thought or who criticized the OG as being too potent and too much, and they wanted to, it's a smoothing out. I think I'll give it to the fact that it feels much more smoothing out as compared to the original Shaghaf Oud. I declassified my bottle of Shaghaf Oud because at a point where it had reached its peak of maturation, I found it very sharp, and it began to be funky on my skin. It smells funky on my skin. However, the Elixir is beautiful, but I feel it is like a shadow of the original one. The original one is very iconic. It has a very iconic smell that I feel they shouldn't have touched or something, or even if they wanted to touch, they should have made it a flanker with something else, with an addition of something. But trying to water it down to probably please a section of the population who felt the original Shaghaf Oud was a bit too much for them. I'm not a fan. It's beautiful, but I'm not going to grab a bottle just because I feel it is a more smoothing out Shaghaf Oud. I think it feels like a shadow of itself, of the original. It doesn't give me that same oomph and, potent and in your face and loud and beastly approach as the OG one. So for that reason, I think I would rather stick with the OG Shaghaf Oud than the Elixir. That is just my opinion. That is just my opinion, yeah, when it comes to these two fragrances. The next set are going to be a set of 5. These are going to be Hypnotic Oud from Arabiat. There's also going to be March Al-Sultan from Asdaf. There's going to be Smoked Oud and Vanilla from Maison Alhambra. There's going to be Amir Al Oud Intense from Latafa, Amir Al Oud, from Latafa. And then I'm also going to add one fragrance to it, My Hair Black from Latafa. These 5 fragrances are heavy, smoky fragrances. Some of them are smoky vanilla fragrances. Some of them do not have the note of vanilla. However, they give a very identical smell, and I'm going to let you know which of them is the closest to each other. I think Hypnotic Oud is one of the few ones I've not given any detailed review to. It's quite new to my collection. It's a decant that I have here, Hypnotic Oud from Arabiat. When I smelled this, it has been compared to By the Fireplace and Amir Al Oud Intense, or Amir Al Oud, Yes, Amir Al Oud Intense, Oud by Latafa, that is the name. So when I smelled this Hypnotic Oud from Arabiat, it didn't give me Amir Al Oud Intense, it didn't. I think from comparing these 5 fragrances, I can confidently say Amir Al Oud, it's a fragrance on its own. I think Latafa did something like I would consider it their own creation, probably taking inspiration from By the Fireplace. I'll consider myself as still learning when it comes to fragrance, but now I think I know a lot more, and with my little knowledge I'm gathering and comparing fragrances, I can say Amir Al Oud Intense is more like a stand-alone fragrance. I don't see much similarity between this one and then Hypnotic Oud, and even March Al-Sultan. After testing and wearing these ones, severally, although they come from the same family. I would describe Hypnotic Oud as your sweet vanilla woody fragrance with the smoky accord. It doesn't have the note of smoke. It has a smoky accord. That is what Hypnotic Oud is. I wouldn't say it gives me Amir Al Oud Intense necessarily. What this one immediately reminded me as soon as I sprayed it out is going to be Smoked Oud and Vanilla from Maison Alhambra. These two are the closest of the bunch. I think they smell very identical. I think this one has been compared to one Tom Ford fragrance, but the more I smell this one, the more it gives me this vibe, and this has been compared to By the Fireplace. Yes, I get that By the Fireplace interpretation and everything. These two are the most identical of the bunch. They give me a very similar feel, just that this one from Alhambra, Smoked Oud and Vanilla, has the note of coffee, but it's not your super realistic coffee one. It has that coffee with the, a bit of the caramel sweetness to it, and some vanilla, and I think some smoky, incensey, accord. This one also gives off a smoky accord, and that is where I think these two come together as the most similar. They smell very identical to me. I would say these two are about 93% similar than the rest of them. They are the most similar in the bunch here. So they give off this same By the Fireplace vibe. I think they do. I remember even when I did my first comparison, I compared this one to By the Fireplace and Amir Al Oud Intense. But now that I'm smelling a lot more around that same family, I think these two are the closest in terms of smell. They are going to give you that vanilla, that bit of a sugariness to it, that wood, and then a smoky accord. This one has a smoke accord. It doesn't have the note of smoke, but I think this one has the note of smoke or incense, one of that. But they smell very identical. I would say Amir Al Oud Intense is quite different. It is much more sweeter with the sugar. It has a lot of sugar and then vanilla, and then also has that smoky accord. But I feel when I compare Hypnotic Oud to this, it is slightly different. It does not necessarily remind me entirely like 100% the same. It can be treated as a standalone fragrance, in my opinion, Amir Al Oud Intense. It's much more, I wouldn't say both of them, are very sweet and mass appealing and, unisex, but I feel this one feels a lot more lighter, the woods are a lot lighter, the smoke is a lot lighter, the vanilla and, it's a lot lighter, although a very heavy, vanilla scent, but in comparison to something like Hypnotic Oud, I think the vanilla here feels a lot more diluted, and the one in Hypnotic Poison feels a lot more thick and resonant, and the woods here also feel like much more of a softer wood, it's like a soft wood, whereas the one from the Smoked Oud and Vanilla and then Hypnotic Oud are much more stronger woods, and I think that is how I'm going to see it. If there's anything that has been compared to Amir Oud Intense, it's been March Al Sultan. It's been March Al Sultan from Asdaf. I would say March Al Sultan, to me, I'm also going to treat it as a standalone fragrance. I'm also going to treat it as a standalone fragrance because, in as much as these two have been compared, I think March Al Sultan has a little bit of spice. There's this spice that makes it quite different. It will put you in the similar mind space as Amir Oud, but there's some spice about it, and it feels a lot greener. There's something green and balsamic, much more balsamic and green and a bit herbal about this March Al Sultan that I don't get in Amir Oud Intense. I also don't get in Hypnotic Oud. I don't get in Smoked Oud and Vanilla. It feels much more smoky vanilla, not vanilla. I don't even get vanilla in this. It's much more of the smoky, herbal, fair balsam. It's much more of that green, slightly herbal, sweet. It's also sweet. And this, when I compared it to several other fragrances that I own, I think the closest it came to is going to be a very polarizing, or used to be polarizing, My Hair Black Intense by Lattafa. This one I've had for like 3 years now. It's one of those very least, spoken about fragrances that I feel is a very beautiful one. This smells very similar to March Al Sultan to me. I think this and March Al Sultan are much more similar than any other fragrance. They give off the same heavy smoke, the same herbal sort of feel to it, the same earthy, much more masculine sort of feel. I think March Al Sultan comes across as a lot more masculine, and it is about 80% similar to My Hair Black from Lattafa to me. It gives me the same vibe. Guess that this one feels a little sweeter, just slightly more sweeter than My Hair Black. But I think of the 5 similar that I'm comparing, these two are the most similar. March Al Sultan and then My Hair Black are the most similar. Hypnotic Oud smells the most similar to Smoked Oud and Vanilla, and I think Amir Oud Intense feels like a fragrance of its own. It doesn't necessarily give me 100% any of these other fragrances, although they can be considered as in the same family. And that is going to be my thoughts and opinion when it comes to these very popular, smoky by the fireplace inspired by fragrances, in my opinion. I think My Hair Black is one of those fragrances that seemed a lot more polarizing, but it's macerated for about 3 years. I find it's much more wearable, although I hardly wear it. I find it's much more wearable. There's a lot more sweetness to it now. The smoke has, if it feels like, it might sound cliche, but it feels like those fragrances that if they are bottled in a niche bottle now, today, you will hear a lot of hype about it. To be like, oh, the best smoky thing, to come out of from Initial, it feels like that, So that is the case of My Hair Black, from Lattafa, with the several other inspired by the fireplace-esque, vibe that I wanted to share with you today. And these are all I have for you today, and I hope this video found you well. So please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.